Jumping into the vol. So, crypto markets came out of the gates pretty strong in October. That does tend to be the best month or one of the best months for Bitcoin. So we had a strong 4% rally in Bitcoin. Realized vol popped by about 5 points. Ethereum realized vol popped by 10 points because of all the excitement around the ETF. And then also the move back down was fairly violent as well. Implied vols did bounce. You can see here. But they weren't massive, right? So you had weekly vol popping, but the kind of moves in the 1 month stuff, it recovered from where it always tends to have seasonal sort of sell off into a Friday, and then if there's a reason for it to bounce, it kind of bounces out of the weekend. So we saw that sort of price action, but in general, I'd say the weekly's got more of a bid because people were kind of interested in buying gamma, and that's how you get your hands on gamma, is by buying the super short dated stuff. And then we've got NFP data due in the US on Friday. ETH carry is negative by about 7 vols right now. So the gamma sellers are probably going to want to wait and take a bit of a pause here, see how the dollar trades, see what rates do, and how the jobs number comes out, because right now it's not really paying you to be short a load of gamma on Ethereum at these vols, given how it's been moving around. Okay. And Bitcoin, whilst Bitcoin carry is marginally positive, it's like 1 or 2 vols. It's not very exciting. Okay. Looking at term structure, so you can see that the front end caught a small bid of 1 to 2 vols in the front. Rest of the curve was kind of down, about 2.5 vols in the middle on Bitcoin, and then the long end down less. So we are seeing 2024 maturity still holding up better, because people are thinking the halving is going to be a positive catalyst for price, etc. So you still got that dynamic there, but we did finally see a little bit of an uptick in the front because people saw that the gamma was providing better value than it typically has been in crypto. Now, that was amplified in Ethereum, where you can see Ethereum gamma was up about 5 vols in the weekly expiry. We did have the middle of the curve, the softest part, it was down about 0.5 vol, but then the back end was actually up on the week. So you saw the back end March next year, June next year, up 0.5 vol to a vol point, which again is a sign of people saying, okay, Ethereum might have a bit of a positive story here for next year as well. So let's pile into some long dated upside to participate in that. Okay. And that's why you're seeing that bid. In terms of the relative value spread, we did see it continue to recover as it has been doing the last week. We've seen the front end move back to flat. The back end is still at about -5. So Bitcoin trading 5 vols above Ethereum. The realized vols, though, 7.5 for Ethereum on a 10-day and just under 4 for a 30-day. So we are seeing Ethereum realized doing pretty well on a relative basis, and yet they're still not really letting the curve reprice. So you can see that the supply-demand dynamics within the crypto space are making it very difficult for Ethereum vol to recover, to go equal to Bitcoin or even above Bitcoin, even when it's realizing. So this is quite evident, showing you that the supply demand is very mismatched between the two assets. And you can see here, you did see Ethereum very briefly go positive in the front. So you got about 2 vols in the weeklies, about 2 vols over, but it got faded pretty fast, and the longer dated maturity is struggling to get above 0. Okay, so it does seem to be the regime we're in, and we're probably not going to exit that for some time. Looking at Skew, it does continue to remain very, very spot sensitive. The 4% rally to start the month has flipped Skew back towards calls, call premium across most of the Bitcoin curve. Weekly expiry still at a very small put premium, but we see a steady increase as you go through the maturities to a final sort of back end of around 5.5 vol premium for calls, which is pretty hefty. Ethereum Skew also had a big shift this week because of the way it moved on the ETF news. It had a persistent put premium in the middle of the curve, and that's now gone. We see call premium from the 60-day maturity and out. We see front end weeklies are still at a 2.5 vol put premium, similar to Bitcoin, but then we've got consistently moving towards calls as we go out the curve. The back end has got as far as 4 vols call premium, which is, you know, quite hefty as well, more the most we've seen in a while. But we think that call premium in the back is going to be more stable. So we think the short end skew is going to continue to be very, very spot sensitive, but the back end skew is now going to stay structurally for calls, because that story is kind of in people's minds that we're going to get ETFs coming. We want to own this stuff for the long term, and there's going to be a re-rating here. So I think you're going to see a call premium that's a bit more persistent going forward, right, in the back end. I might be wrong, but that's what I think. Okay. Here are your dashboards. Nothing really too exciting to call out. I mean, it is saying buy puts on Bitcoin here because we did get a bit stretched on the upside, but you know, the range was quite narrow. The Bollinger Band range got very narrow, so the fact we're at the top of it isn't that meaningful to me, because in the context of where Bitcoin has been, we're actually kind of mid-range. We're not really at the top end of the range. Ethereum, even less convincing in terms of buy puts. So I personally am not rushing out to do any new trades right now on crypto. I'm looking at something in stocks, which I'll talk about in a bit, but in the actual cryptos, I'm not really doing a lot right now. Volumes were up around 30% on Bitcoin options. We obviously had a large quarterly expiry roll-off last Friday. As usual, we're seeing 1 month call selling flows on screen. But, you know, in terms of block trades, the big things we were seeing were October calls getting rolled into November, December type calls. We saw some downside in November and December that was better for sale, like the 22 and 24K strikes in December, the 25K strikes in November, and people buying the 26K in October on the put side. And then we also saw some buyers of March 24 15K puts, so some longer date protection there. And we saw on the upside some December 45 calls getting bought as well in good size. They're quite low premium options now. Yeah. So that's Bitcoin flows. Ethereum flows were up even more, about 60% on the week. Obviously, we got a bit of excitement ignited by that move. So lots of call activity in Ethereum. Two-way flows in calls. We did see buying in the October to December calls, but then we also saw some big sellers come out of the woodwork in the November 1800s and the December 1900s in about 20K options per strike, and that knocked the vol back down off its highs pretty sharpish. And then one other trade that was notable. So there were some October puts being bought in various strikes, and then a bullish risk reversal in December, the 1400, 2000 risky that was bought as well, which I thought was an interesting expression of the long. Okay, that is your flows. In terms of gamma positioning, they're actually very, very close to get neutral positioning now in both assets. So we did see a spike into the long gamma positioning into expiry. So saw these big spikes here. And then once the expiry is rolled off, that's just flattened down to nothing. So both Ethereum and Bitcoin sitting pretty close to flat gamma for the dealer's inventory right now. If you look at the kind of granularity of the strikes and maturities, you can see Bitcoin dealers are long the 28 and 9 strikes. That's for the 6th of October, so this Friday and the end of October. And then against that, they've got various shorts scattered all over the map. So you've got the longs coming in the kind of local range here, and then you've got scattered shorts all over the place, particularly on the upside where they're shorting out to October expiry. So I think the gamma positioning will flip short if we rally, but otherwise it's going to be fairly stable. Looking at Ethereum dealer gamma positioning, similar story. We've got the long strike in 1700 October. We've got some shorts in various expiries against that. And we've got some September shorts, December shorts on the upside as well. Not September, sorry, December shorts on the upside if we were to go higher. Okay, so but overall, I'd say the gamma positioning is too light to have any impact. So you wouldn't do any trades on the back of this gamma positioning. That's the summary for this week in crypto. Thanks a lot as always. I'll catch you guys later.